So, what really makes a manager not just good, but truly effective? It's not about some big dramatic gesture. It's about the small, consistent habits they practice day in and day out. Today, we're going to break down 11 of these habits. And this isn't just theory. This comes from lessons learned in some of the most high stakes environments you can imagine, like the Royal Navy and the Fire Service. So let's dive in.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute. Isn't that the opposite of what a manager should do? Aren't they supposed to be all about action and making quick decisions? And you're right, to a point. But as we're about to see, knowing when to step back and do nothing can actually be one of the most powerful moves you can make.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the foundation, the core mindset that everything else is built on. Then we'll jump into habits for mastering yourself, your actions, and of course, your team. And we'll wrap up with one final habit that can supercharge your growth. Stick with me, and you'll have a clear roadmap to becoming a much more effective leader.
All right, before we get into the nitty-gritty, we have to talk about the foundation. You can't build a strong house on shaky ground. Well, everything we're about to discuss is built on two core habits that really separate the great managers from the rest of the pack.
It all starts with mindset. Look at this, it's a tale of two managers. On the left, you've got the blame game. That's not my fault. But on the right, you have the effective manager. They take ownership. Period. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. If it happened on their watch, they own the problem. And more importantly, they own the solution. That simple shift changes the entire dynamic of a team.
So, with that solid foundation in place, the first place we build is ourselves. It's that old saying, right? You can't lead other people if you can't lead yourself. This next part is all about that crucial internal work. This is a big one. The best managers are always students. They're always curious. They truly believe there's always something new to learn, whether they're fresh on the job or have 20 years of experience. The moment you decide you know everything is the exact moment you stop growing. And of course, a huge part of that growth comes from seeking out feedback. But here's the key. You ask for it, you listen to it, but you don't have to act on every single piece of it. As the manager, your job is to process that information and then strategically choose what's actually useful. You're still in the driver's seat. Okay, we've covered the inner game. Now let's switch gears and talk about the outer game, making smart, effective decisions when the pressure is on. I love this because it lays out a super simple but powerful process. First, listen way more than you speak. And don't just think of listening as being quiet. Think of it as actively gathering intelligence. Second, you've got to filter. You will be bombarded with information and requests. Your job is to figure out what's urgent versus what's just noise. And finally, when it's time to decide, rely on facts, not just your feelings. And before you make any big call, ask yourself this one simple question. It can be a total lifesaver. Do I have to make this decision right now? Just forcing that little pause can be the difference between a panicked reaction and a really thoughtful response. And that brings us right back to our opening quote. This is the power of the strategic pause. Sometimes doing nothing is the smartest move. It buys you time. Time for tempers to cool, time for more facts to come to light, time for the situation to just evolve. A lot of the time, the best decision is the one you deliberately delay. Of course, management is not a solo sport. At the end of the day, your success is completely tied to your team's success. So let's talk about the habits that forge those really strong, productive relationships. Getting to know your team means so much more than just learning their names. It's about being strategic. When you know who's good at what, you can delegate tasks intelligently. When you know what they want to achieve in their careers, you can help them get there, and that builds incredible loyalty. And yeah, it also means praising good work and being direct, but fair when things need to get better. And your team isn't the only relationship that matters. Great managers build a whole network, with other managers, with suppliers, with key stakeholders. Think of it this way. When something inevitably goes wrong, and trust me, it will, who can you call for help? Having those strong relationships is like having an army of problem solvers ready to back you up. All right, we've covered a ton of ground. But this last habit, this one is probably the biggest accelerator you can find for your career as a manager. It really is as simple as it sounds. Why would you want to learn every lesson the hard way? A mentor is someone who's already walked the path. They can give you guidance, offer a different perspective, and help you avoid all those common rookie mistakes. Honestly, finding a good mentor is like finding a cheat code for your career. It'll help you grow faster than you ever could on your own.
So let's put it all together. This is a great summary. You can see how these habits are organized under 3 pillars. You've got self-mastery, taking ownership, setting high standards. That's your personal foundation. Then you have decisive action. That's about how you operate and process information. And finally, team leadership, all about how you connect with others. This isn't just a random list. It's a complete framework for becoming a truly excellent manager.
Look, knowing all this is one thing, but actually doing it is what matters. Don't try to tackle all of this at once. You'll just get overwhelmed. Instead, just look at this list and ask yourself one question. Which one of these habits, if I started doing it tomorrow, would make the biggest positive impact on me and my team? Find that one. Start there.